It was a sinister attack that erupted after a simple road rage row. An innocent victim who was caught up in the crossfire left with his hand severed by an axe and puncturing his lung in a near-fatal attack that was horrifying. The violence exploded on the Newbold Estate in Rochdale in 2017, where organised crime gang Adam had a firm hold, wreaking havoc on the streets and driving fear in the many innocent civilians living there. Cameron Brooksbank was the victim of a horrific axe attack. The scar on Cameron's arm after life-saving surgery and 5 further operations. The brave teen, left with life-changing injuries and trauma, was the innocent victim of a brutal organised crime gang with an iron grip on the town. His case featured in the current series of the detectives taking down an organised crime gang on BBC2 and iPlayer highlights a wider problem of growing gang warfare which is terrorising the residents of the Greater Manchester district. The Adam organised crime gang, named after the phone line used for drug dealing by the gang, rakes in millions by supplying heroin, crack and weed, and are grooming kids as young as 11 as drug runners. The victim, 18-year-old tree surgeon Cameron Brooksbank, was among his other colleagues who were set upon by the mob and attacked as he tried to defuse the escalating situation. The group had been summoned there by Habiba Rahman, 27, who in court called the victims white bastards who were in his country. One of the mob, Mohammed Awais Sajid, known as Skinny, came armed with an axe, as others were wielding knives, machetes, a claw hammer, and a knuckle duster. The violent act was one of retribution. Rahman, who was the manager of his family's restaurant in Baytree in Blackley, had taken offence at the driving of an elderly woman on nearby Church Road, shouting abuse at her before Cameron and others attempted to bravely intervene. A judge said Rahman made it clear that he had been disrespected on his territory and decided to enact swift retribution, with the victims tracked down to the property they were working on nearby and confronted by the mob that rapidly grew in number. Cameron, a teenager at the time, was struck by an axe in the armpit and then on the wrist as he tried to shield his head from another blow. Investigations by Greater Manchester Police later revealed the main suspects in the attack were members of the notorious Adam organised crime gang. The horrific scenes of violence and terror were a catalyst for detectives who launched an operation aimed at dismantling the whole gang. Detective Sergeant Martin Sauter grew up in Rochdale and has worked for the Greater Manchester Police for 27 years and says the level of violence has dramatically increased in the last 5 years. You will get acid attacks, machete attacks. There's instances where people have been scalped on the street, he says. Almost all extreme violence in the area is linked to gangs. The brutality of the gang who supply drugs through 15 phone lines in the city has led to a widespread fear, which makes it hard for Sauter's dedicated team of 7 officers to crack the organised crime gangs, as witnesses are intimidated and bribed into silence. Despite investigating the Adam organised crime gang for nearly a decade and numerous arrests of low-level drug dealers, the team have yet to see a senior gang member convicted. But the axe attack in October 2017 led to the arrest of suspect Mohammed Awais Sajid, known as Skinny, who was an Adam kingpin and the son of the alleged crime boss, Sajid Hussain. Skinny was convicted of assault and was jailed for 18 years in 2019. At the end of a three-parter, it was revealed that Cameron died this year. His cause of death was not disclosed. While the Adam organised crime gang had a grip on the town, they are not the only gangs to cause terror in the area. In 2018, Superintendent John Paul Ruffle said 12 major gangs operate in Rochdale, which has the second highest rate of organised crime in Greater Manchester. Last year, 9 members of the 706, who also called themselves the Portuguese Mafia, the PMG, were jailed after terrorising 2 estates in the town. The gang peddled cocaine, heroin and cannabis, using threats of violence to instill fear. The PMG also had a running feud with the local gang, the M40, also known as the Lane Boys. On Bonfire Night 2020, the beef exploded when M40 member Alexander John Sawyer was cornered by rival gang members and stabbed and beaten to death. Within hours, the M40 plotted to avenge his death, targeting the PMG members they believed were responsible, but the plot was foiled by the arrest of member Harry Oni, with police finding messages about the plan on his phone, along with incriminating evidence about the previous attacks. In June 2022, 10 gang members were sentenced to a total of 131 years, with 4 convicted of conspiracy to murder. Preston Crown Court was told that the 10 defendants, all of Manchester, were all members of the gang called the M40 or the 40, named after the postcode of the area in which the gang originated. The gang also called themselves 2B2, Fours, Lane Boys or Laners. In autumn 2020, the gang had beef with one or more rival gangs called the PMG or the RTD or the 706, who were based in Oldham and Rochdale. The conflict came to a head on Bonfire Night 2020 when, in one of the 3 acts of violence, M40 gang member Alexander John Sawyer was cornered in his gang's territory before being stabbed and beaten to death. Within days, if not hours, of the murder of Sawyer, the defendants were plotting to avenge his death by violently targeting one or more of the rival gang members whom they believed to be responsible. Please like this video, please comment, and I would love it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.